Thanks, Lacy, for coming in today.
No problem. Glad to.
So, what we're going to do today, I'm just going to show you the circuit again. I know we talked about it last time. Last time when we met, we did the professional development. That's when we came up with the goal of explicitly teaching children problem-solving skills during large group time. Today, we're doing the coaching on topic, so you kind of know where we're going. And then next week, we've decided we're going to combine the modeling and the behavioral rehearsal.
Okay.
And then the following week, the live coaching. That's when you will actually be teaching the skill in the classroom with your kiddos. It's a different day. And then we still have to set up with Marcy.
I talked to Marcy and she said that she is set for that.
Oh, good. Great. So that, and then we'll be all done with this one circuit. So we can go ahead and get started. Again, we kind of talked about the professional goal that you came up with was explicitly teaching children how to use the problem-solving skills, and you use it during large group time, doing it then. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little teaching on it, a mini teaching on how you teach problem-solving skills.
Okay.
And then the second part, we're going to do a skills rubric, which we'll use for the next 3 sessions at least, and it's really specific. It outlines behaviors that you're going to watch me doing, and then behaviors that you'll be doing, and we can check to make sure that we get them done, which is really a nice way to do it.
Okay.
So getting started, the explicitly teaching problem-solving steps is the first step in addressing and teaching children how to solve their problems, and it's really important. It's that teaching part of it. And I don't know if you've heard this before, maybe in some of your pyramid training, but it's one of my very favorite things. If a child doesn't know how, something like this, if a child doesn't know how to read, we teach them. If a child doesn't know how to swim, we teach them. If a child doesn't know how to ride a bike, we teach them. If a child doesn't know how to behave, we punish them.
I remember that quote from the class,
Yeah, that had just such an impact on me when I heard it, because I thought how true that is. You know, we expect them to be able to know how to behave, and they don't. We have to really spend the time teaching. That's a really important thing. And we did choose this goal from the teapot results and the inventory of practices. And it really fits in well with the whole pyramid model. It's here at this third level, you know, the effective workforce and the environments and the relationships at this bottom level. And right in here, the targeted social emotional supports, that is what this is, teaching problem-solving skills. And there's just, you know, some really good evidence that the systematic approaches to teaching social skills, which problem-solving steps is, they can have a preventative and a remedial effect for kids who have challenging behavior. So if you have somebody in the classroom who's already presenting challenging behaviors, teaching them these skills, that's going to help to hopefully get rid of some of that. But before we go any further with this, I just want to kind of go back and revisit our learning skills.
Okay.
You want to, and this whole packet of papers is for you. There were some resources that I was able to collect. And that kind of leads right into the whole learning styles thing. We talked about it, that you're more of a social learner, and then all the other styles pretty much so the same, and I'm more of a solitary learner. And just getting ready for this, it was really good for me because I was able to spend time on my computer and going through all my handouts and just pulling some of this information together, and now being able to get together with you and being able to back and forth, talk it through. And so if you have any questions, you know, or anything isn't quite clear, or you want to add a comment or something, please feel free to do that. That's a way that you kind of learn. Yeah. And me too. And I think I think it's really helpful for me to have that back and forth thing, even though it's probably not my first choice. It's really helpful too.
Yeah, I think I just need to see it and be able to witness it, you know, and then do it back.
Yeah. So why do you think it's important? This is just kind of a question off the top of my head. Why do you think it's important for children to know how to solve their problems?
I mean, I think it's a life skill that you're going to need throughout the rest of your life. It's something you need further on into the future. And you're going to come up with a lot of conflicts through any age. So I definitely think it's something important to learn from the very beginning, so you know how to process it and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
in a way that's best for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think, just some of the information that I got is that it is truly a life skill, and these steps that we're learning are the same steps that adults use.
Yeah, I thought about that, like the process that adults have to go through when they're angry too.
Mhm.
You have to stop and think about things and how you're gonna approach a situation.
Yeah, real life situations, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I found some research that shows, and I'm just going to read this because I think it's really important.
Okay.
Children with conduct problems and poor impulse control are more likely to be peer rejected and do more poorly in school than children who are more capable of emotional regulation and problem solving.
Wow.
So it really does have that lifelong effect, to be able to get along with other kids, the peer stuff, and the whole school thing. And if we can make a change right now when they're so little.
When they're little, before they even enter elementary school, middle school, high school.
Yeah. There's a continuum with conflict solving problems, and it starts off with self-regulation, and then it kind of moves into self-control, and then comes conflict resolution or problem solving.
Okay.
So if a child's having problems, if you identify a child in your classroom that may be having problems with self-regulation or with maybe some self-control, you really need to address those too. Those are really, really important. And all of them kind of interweave together, but the social self-control and self-regulation are two really important things. And we can talk more about that, if we come up with some kids who maybe are identifying as having some of those and how we would deal with it. But we're just going to focus on the problem solving or the conflict resolution. A key point in your goal is the teaching part. What do you think, just try to brainstorm some maybe responsibilities that you as a teacher have before and as you're teaching kids? What are some of those key components? Does that make any sense to you?
Like, I think I need to be able to have it ready, have examples that I can use, maybe a role-playing type thing, maybe a story that I can read that could go along with it. I could teach them during the day when things are happening as well.
Right, that carryover is really huge.
And keep scaffolding, building on it in different ways that they can use their problem-solving skills.
Those are great, and those are even taking it, what you're teaching beyond, which is great, that expansion, and you're already thinking about, that's what the next steps with that. So I was kind of, and you mentioned this, being prepared ahead of time. So having your materials ready. Oftentimes when I'm teaching something new, I sit down and I write like a little script to myself. Like, okay, I want to say this, just so my key points, so I want to make sure that I remember to cover everything with the kids. And then if I have any modifications for kids, because some kids might need some extra supports or something, I try to have all of that ready ahead of time. Sometimes I don't know what modifications I might need, and that might come the next time I try to teach the same skill or build on it, like you said, the scaffolding of it. Another thing when you're teaching is to make sure that you have the kids' attention.
Yeah.
So they're looking at you and they're focused on what you want to do, and you want to tell them what you're going to be doing. That kind of fits into the whole pyramid thing for kids to know what they're doing now, how they know they're making progress, and what they're going to do when they're done, when they're finished, knowing what they're done. And then descriptively reinforcing kids who are attending during your teaching activity. So really looking at those kiddos, if you have somebody who's a little off task or not really focusing in on those kids who are attending and just letting them know that. And then also when you're teaching is just checking in with the kids intermittently and saying, making sure they understand what you're trying to teach them. So maybe like a little built-in review as you're going through the process. And then at the very end of whatever you've taught, kind of go back and review for them. And that's really a lot of stuff to do, and you have their attention for this age kids, you're not going to have a whole lot of time when they're all best practices are we don't want to have those large groups for extended period of time.
Yeah.
For this age group, when we did the teapot, that was ideal. It was like 10 or 12 minutes, something like that, and that was perfect, and the kids were attending the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be really concise, and that's why it's important to be prepared ahead of time.
Yeah, so that way you're not sitting there thinking about what you need to do or gathering materials. That's also
Right, and that's when you see the problem behaviors coming up. If you're grabbing things behind you and having to go to another part of the room, that's when the kids are going to start poking or whatever else they might do. So this is the problem-solving skills that we're going to teach from this handout right here, problem-solving steps. And this comes from the Cessful website. And I think it's really important to use the visual when you're teaching with the kids. Just like us, for one thing, realizing that kids have different learning styles, and you might have some kiddos who are more visual learners, and so it's important. But the other thing that's important to remember with kids at this age is when you're talking and you're saying something, you say the word and it's gone.
Yeah.
Where if you can say the word and there's a picture that they can connect with it, that's more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the 4 steps here that we're going to kind of go through. And basically what you're going to want to do is teach them, I love this little guy, his little facial expressions too.
Yeah.
What is my problem? And you were saying that before, even with adults. We have to identify, okay, there's a problem here. What specifically is it?
Mm-hmm.
And really kind of defining that, because you may think the problem is your car's not working, when really it's just your car's out of gas. But you have to kind of redefine to make sure you know what the problem is. And then number 2, this little light bulb there, think of some solutions, And so that's another pyramid with the solution kit. All of this basic teaching, you can go off onto so many paths and do so many other activities centered around the whole problem-solving thing. Even small groups, you can come up with some ideas for all of these. So helping the kids to generate and think of some solutions, and then what would happen if, and that's kind of teaching that higher thinking process of, if I do this, would it be safe? Would it be fair? How would everybody feel? So you're wanting them to teach that is actually part of the step too.
Mm-hmm.
And then give it a try. And then after giving it a try, you're wanting to encourage them. They've come up with their idea. They just settled on one, and they're going to give it a try. What happens if it doesn't work?
Right. So you need to go back and rethink about it.
Yeah.
Think of some more solutions.
Yeah.
Faces.
Yeah. Yeah. All this, they always hit those emotions. And I have another quote, and this kind of goes along with, if it doesn't work, if a solution doesn't work, then what? Research shows that teachers who can help children build confidence by providing opportunities to make choices and helping them understand that real confidence requires an understanding that the possibility of failure is there, but they still need to pursue a solution. So you're teaching them that, okay, if it doesn't work, if somebody says they don't want to share with me, what's another solution? And I'm not going to give up and fall to the floor or grab that toy.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Find
another
a different way.
Yeah. So you're, again, just giving them that confidence and building their skill level of realizing, maybe not everything doesn't work the first time, but we just persist and keep on trying. This kind of goes along with what we were saying before. When I was getting ready for this, I was looking in the Building Blocks book, and we're going to talk a little bit about this, but this is a great book. And I just thumbed to the back and I looked under problem solving, and it came up with problem solving methods for teens, and it was addressing adults that are on a team and they're trying to do something and they're hitting a problem, and what are the steps that they take. And the steps that they listed were identify the problems, generate the solutions, evaluate the solutions right here, and implement your choice, and then they say evaluate your outcome. So like you said, we're teaching a life
life skill.
Yeah.
Something that you're going to use even into adulthood.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Matches. It's just in words. There's no pictures.
Yeah. They don't think you need the pictures.
Yeah.
I might like those.
So when we get to the skill set, we're going to talk about some real specifics about some possible ways you can use to teach this. And you had mentioned before using puppets or a book or something like that along with these visuals. So when we get to the skill set, we'll really redefine that. I was kind of thinking about some times when I've used these problem-solving steps. I was a speech therapist before, and I wasn't in the classroom a lot. When I went into the classroom full-time, I don't know, that was like 8 years ago or something, and it was just when we were beginning to start to do the pyramid training. We were getting the training at that point. But I found myself with kids putting out a lot of fires for problems and feeling like every time there was a problem with kids, I was using a lot of use your words, don't do that now, we have to stop. So it was just really frustrating for me. And then we started doing the pyramid stuff, and I was like totally on board going, duh, of course, we need to teach these kids how to solve their problems. And we're pretty fortunate here at Bal Swan because the kids that we get in our classes, the pre-K classes,
They've already experienced some of it.
They've been through Brooke and Vanessa's class, so they've heard this language. They've been through Mandy or Miss Kay's class, and they know some of that language. But I still, even though they know it, it's one of the first skills that I teach at the beginning of the year. Really try to emphasize this.
Well, and a lot of them have been gone for the summer, or
Yeah.
it's good to have a reminder
To
of
kind
it.
of review with them. And I just found that after the kids were familiar with it and they knew it, I wasn't putting out as many fires. It wasn't my responsibility to solve those problems. We're teaching the kids to learn how to solve their own problems. And I knew after we talked about it and we've had lots of opportunities to practice it, when there was a real life problem, we could go back and we could use this. Okay, what's your problem? Let's think about this. Just help them process through it. So for me, it's really been, as with so many of the skills that they teach in the pyramid, this has been a really, really important one for me. So there are, I'm sure there's going to be some kids in the classroom, and that's just the way that Bal Swan is. We have kids of all different skill levels, and like your little buddy that you help.
Yeah.
We have to make some changes or some modifications when you're teaching. Can you just kind of off the top of your head, thinking about the combination of your classroom right now, think of any kids who might need some modifications in teaching of these skills? Either attention-wise, behavior-wise.
I think attention-wise and behavior, we have a couple who might need help thinking about it and having assistance with going through the problems and thinking of solutions. And how we could modify it.
Yeah, we can do some brainstorming about
Yeah,
that when we come. Actually, part of the skills set rubric, there's a section here that just really addresses modifications that might be necessary for specific kids.
Okay.
So we can kind of fill that in too. So this is a great book, and this is mine, but I'm gonna have it in the classroom, and we can use it anytime. More than welcome to use the building blocks. It really talks about modifications for kids and in different areas. And the one that I kind of found that I thought was interesting was like circle time modifications. Since you're going to be teaching this skill at circle time, you're going to have the whole group there. And it goes through and it lists some really nice things like environmental supports that you might need to make, or materials adaptations. Like with your little guy, you probably, for him, you would definitely, if you hand something out, paper, you'd want to have it laminated, or maybe even like a real object or something.
Like a fidget toy type of thing. Okay.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and that's what I started thinking, if we were trying to get his attention so he wouldn't be moving around, something to get him to focus. That's what it talks about. Environmental supports, material supports.
Activity simplifications. So you might have to change your language, or you might have to change it, make it shorter. Child preferences, if there's something that they really like or something that's going to grab their attention, keep their attention. Any special equipment.
Like a Chewy or something.
Yeah. Adult supports. So maybe even having somebody sit behind a child who's not able to really focus.
Okay.
And peer supports, having him sit maybe next to a close friend who might help them focus their attention, or invisible supports. And those are kind of the, if they're unsure, we just want to kind of make sure that those aren't anything real obvious, but they are things that can help with the attention. These are all modifications during large group time.
Okay.
So we can look at those. So we know that it's really important to provide high quality education for all kids. And if some of those kids aren't making progress, we need to provide the amount of support that they need. So that's really what we want to do with this, because we want to have effective teaching for all of our kiddos. So that's really a lot of information. And again, the skill set, as we're going through that, we're going to hit some real specific things here.
Okay.
So anything that kind of struck you, or any questions, or?
I think maybe just the adapting it for if somebody might not understand it, like if there were a child that had severe needs, how you could adapt that for, like, my friend who I go to class with, how a certain way to adapt that type of teaching for him.
Right.
Those would be my types of questions, like how you would do that type of thing.
Right. Yeah. And we can use puppets. We can use we could take these steps maybe and blow them up bigger, make them on a bigger piece of paper.
And then you would use this as like the visual for it?
We could use this, we could make a bigger one, we could even cut out, make little puppets.
Oh, cute.
And hold those up, maybe have, so he would have something to hold on, or something to match with them so they know.
That's a good idea.
You could even take that and make that a small group activity after you've done the initial teaching.
And that's kind of scaffolding on what you've already taught too.
Right, exactly. So I'm just going to really quickly go through some of these handouts that I found for you. These are from the training module that you guys haven't done yet. It's coming up for
Pyramid?
For Pyramid, session 15. It talks about self-regulation, conflict resolution. But this is just a good information on some memory kind of things. And then I pulled this out, a developmental chart on self-regulation. And we talked about how important self-regulation is as a precursor, and an article on helping your children control anger or disappointment. And then you've seen this one before, the whole Tucker Turtle. And that is really, it's a problem-solving step. You could after you teach these, then you can introduce some Tucker Turtle kind of things, activities. And this goes through and lists all the specifics on how you would teach Tucker Turtle.
Okay.
And Tucker Turtle activity. And then I made a copy of this. I don't know if you have this or not. It's the book list from the Seth website, and it's different topics, but the one that I pulled it for, I just thought the whole thing would be good for you to have as you're teaching problem solving skills. So there's some books that might be another activity that you could use. Pick one of these books out after you've done this, and then kind of make the connection.
So could you, even if you had like your social skill, like teaching the problem solving skills, and then read one of these stories afterwards during the same circle? Or would you separate it into two?
You know what? It might be for your initial teaching. I think you just want to do this.
Just that, okay.
But I think for maybe even the next day, or for a small group that same day, you could definitely pick up a book and go, you remember, and you could use your visuals here and say, you remember, okay, what's the problem in this story? Think about that. Oh, what are some solutions that they could have? Another idea is to get maybe little picture cards, and I have some in the room, of kids who are having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of, and the second steps has those two. Two kids are pulling on the same toy. Oh, let's help. Let's identify what this problem is. And I don't know, you might even want to incorporate a picture like that as you're teaching on our skill set rubric. But showing a picture of a problem, let's generate some ideas as a group, and then let's ask these questions. Would it be fair if you grabbed the toy and ran? Probably not. Well, let's think about that. How would the other person feel? So that might be something we want to think about for that. But these are great books too. So that handout.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. And then this is just a checklist. So when you are your approach group, this is, kind of want to look through this, systematically teach this.
Okay.
Individualize your plans. And then when problematic situations come up throughout the day, you're going to be there to facilitate with the kids remember our steps.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be good to have might even have it smaller and keep it in your pocket or something.
Yeah. Have it as part of the kit.
Yeah, right.
Maybe hanging somewhere.
Right, yeah. So, but there's a lot of stuff in here on problem solving too. And when you do the peer-to-peer, hopefully this will be a little bit helpful for you too.
Okay.
Work through some of this. And again, the reflecting back on what you've taught as you see it later in the day, making that connection for the kids, and when you see children spontaneously using some of the problem things, identifying that and say, wow, you guys both wanted the same blocks, but look at, you figured out you could build together. You came up with a solution to your problem. That's so awesome. So that positive descriptive feedback is really important too. This kind of goes through in the solid ways.
Okay.
So, if you want to take, I have this evaluation before you leave. We can get that all filled out. That'd be great. And we won't go through the whole thing. We can kind of get started with this, and then I can finish some of it up, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of it. And what we'll do, the way that it'll work now, the modeling will come next, and you'll use this, and as I'm modeling for you, you'll go through and you'll grade me to see if I met this. So the way that it works out, we write our objective in here, which is systematically teaching problem-solving skills during large group. Lacy will. And then the skill descriptions of all of the different steps. And then the M is for you met that, or I met it, partially met it, and then unmet. And we'll have really specifically what those are.
Okay.
So skill description. I mean, what do we want to do? Maybe we better. Any ideas, brainstorms?
Skill description. For me, for you, or
for when we want to actually do the modeling and the teaching live. And what are the steps when we're going to be in front of the classroom doing this?
So you would introduce the skill.
You want to maybe use the problem-solving steps?
Problem-solving steps, yep.
Okay, so I'm going to put that down here. Use picture, use visual.
Use the visual. You could give an example. Like that. Of the problem. Maybe name some solutions.
So, just for like this one, use the visual problem-solving step. The visual problem-solving steps. Met would be Lacy or showed the picture of just as simple as that.
Oh, okay.
Simple as that. And then okay, maybe we could use the visual. Maybe we should do a double one here. Use visual problem-solving steps and read the 4 steps.